Just wait for a couple of minutes. All right, we are ready to go. Just let me push my YouTube, the live channel link for the other students. All right, we are ready to go. Okay, let us begin with the A2. This will be the very first class. So the topic that is it is the user-defined data type. So if just let me know that if you have any difficulty, like what are the variables and what is about the declaration and all those things. And the second thing that we will going to cover is the pointers. So what is the concept of pointers? Some topics that I will just going to miss out intentionally is because that we will going to cover those topics when we will going to start the programming. So that will going to make more sense. Okay, let me share screen with you. Okay, there we go. Okay, just start jumping into the topic. Basically, that is the user-defined data types. Let me give you a quick example of declaration. Excuse me. Okay, then this is the pre-release paper solved that I was just like that's always used to do whenever the pre-release of P2 or P4 comes up. I try to solve it on my end, so student might get benefit from that. So that is basically for the previous one, because so far we haven't received the pre-release for the winters. So for example, if there is a program like this one there, as we can see that regardless of what this program is doing, what I just am trying to say, what I just trying to clarify here is that whenever we're going to use some variables in a program, like this books is a variable, even this C is a variable, and account is a variable. So before the program start, we need to declare those variables, like this declaration of the variables I've just mentioned in the comments as well. So we need to declare the variables. We need to tell the computers that these are the kind of variables, these are the names of the variables that we will going to use in our program later on. We also need to tell the data type of all the variables. For example, if I'm going to use this variable and name as book, basically this is an array variable. It has a size from size 31, basically from 0 to 30. This book variable has a data type string. So it's mean that all the data that we're going to store in this variable or the array variables will be string, ABC 1 2 3, something like this. And this another variable is also has a data type string. This count variable here has a data type single. Basically, the single means an integer, a numerical. This variable will going to contain numerical data. Single is used to define in Visual Basic. Okay, so this is about the declaration. So I'm pretty hopeful that you have the previous knowledge of the declaration, because you have done with the P1 and P2 and the O levels as well. So later on, what is the reason, what is the motivation behind why we need to have a user-defined data type when we already have string, integer, character, floating data types, all the data types, all the kind of data that we can have. We do have the data types, but why we need to have the user-defined data type? So this is the very first thing. Before we just like get into the user-defined data type, the very first thing that is known as the enumerated numbers. So enumerated numbers are basically the constant numbers that we will going to define early. So what is constant? Constant is it's not it's kind of variable which has a fixed value. So whenever you will going to use that constant in your program, it will always going to have the same number, the same value inside of it. For example, uh, for example, there we are. Something from the previous lecture. Okay, so what if that I have a program, for example, a very small program like this one. So if this constant is defined early, it is declared and it has assigned the value 5. So it doesn't matter that wherever that you will going to use this constant word anywhere, this program will not going to make any sense, but this is just trying to clear the idea of the constant. So whenever you are going to use this const or whatever the name that you have given to your constant, it will always going to have the same value. It will going to have the value 5, as we have defined this 5 here already. So this is basically constants are. But we will going to have a user-defined constants as well. For example, we have just talked about the enumerated numbers here. So for example, this is a very good example. A constant is being declared. The name of that constant is heart, and initially they are giving that heart constant an integer value 1. So heart, club, spade, and diamond, all these constants have been declared and given the value 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then later on, they are just declaring this whole card set as string. So this is one way of doing this, but in enumerated numbers, what we do, we have another smart way of declaring, giving those constants numbers, just like here. You just need to mention enum. This is the same word that you will going to use in algorithms. If in NP4 or NP3, they will going to ask you about declare a set of enumerated numbers, or if they are going to use a word like this. So it is also used in algorithms, and it is also being used in Visual Basic. And I guess in Pascal's, they just write down enumerated as a whole, right? So instead of doing this whole laborious work, what they do, they need to declare enum suits. They're just naming this whole set of data as suits, basically the card suits, and then hearts 1, clubs 2, spade 3, and diamond 4, and end of enum. So they have declared a set of suit. Hearts will always going to have value 1, clubs will always going to have value 2. So later on in any program, whenever they will going to call, whenever they will going to use clubs, so that clubs CLUBS will going to have which value inside of it? 2. So later on in any program, wherever they will going to use a word spades, what is the value that they will going to have? They will going to have the value 3 inside of that space. So end of enumerated numbers are declaring this whole card set as suits. So basically this is what user defined constants. They have declared these 4 variables as suit, as enumerated numbers, okay, and this suit is now being declared as dim card set as suits, just like you declare any variable, because whenever you need to declare a variable, this is basically a visual basic an example. So whenever you need to declare a variable, just a minute, where is that thing goes? Why I'm losing my screen? What happened? Just let me get over with this thing. I'm having some problem with the team viewer. Just give me a minute. Five, 6, 5. Basically, this is how I just have to screen share. All right, there we go. Thanks, God. We are back. Sorry for inconvenience. So where were we? We were talking about defining a user-defined constants, user-defined constants. So what they have written there, they have declared basically the enumerated numbers by writing enum, and they name their set of constants basically as suits, and then they have later on declared like something like spades and hearts, 1 and 2, and something like this. And enum. Okay, now when you need to when you are going to declare a user-defined data type or a user-defined constants, you need to actually declare it. Now this dim thing is this dim thing that we have talked about here. Now they are just giving it a name. Card set, or whatever the name you want to give, as suits. So now this suit data type have all the information like this one. So now later on how you will going to call it, we will also going to do that. We're going to do that practice as well. But so far we're just working on the declaration. So and declaration of the enumerated numbers. So this whole thing is just goes like this. For example, if you just need to declare a variable, a simple variable, you declare it like what? You just do dim name string or dim marks as integer. For integer, basically we have two options in Visual Basic. It's single and it's double. So single. You can also write down, yeah, yes, I just, this is good as well. You can also write down integer as well. This will going to work in Visual Basic as well. In C language, we just write down int, in Pascal and in Python. In Python, you just have to write down int. So something like this. So this is basically the simple declaration. But just like we have talked about here, the declaration of these four constants under the category of this enumerated, and then we're just calling this as like here. We just declared a card set, and declared as what? Suits. This suit is basically declared by you. You defined it. You can create any other set of constants as you like. Later on, we will going to see some examples here. For example, yeah, for example here, declare an enum, an set of enumerated called months that holds the months along with the how many days in each for a non-leap year. Non-leap year basically means that the February will going to have 28 number of days. So how you will going to do that? Can you just tell me that by just understanding this whole thing, how you will going to declare a set of enumerated numbers, and you have to name them months, and those all months will going to hold a number of days, actual what number of days they have. So before expanding the answer, just practice this doing by ourselves here. So we need to enum months. This is what they told us about months, and for the very first month, January has how many days? 31. February has how many days? 28. And then March has how many days? 31, and so on. So you will going to declare all the months till December. 31, and then you will going to do end enum, and then you will going to declare or dim. What was the question? Declare an enum called months that holds the months along with how many days in each of a non-leap year. Just like this one or this one. Okay, dim days as month. It's up to you what name that you want to give to your variable, and the data type you are using, this months, this one. So it's done. So just like let's check. Let's expand it. Enum months, they have done all that thing, and enum, that's all. This does not declare it. They don't feel like declaring it. So now another thing, if this information is given to you, they're asking that what this code will do. I don't think so. This is a bit practical question because there is no declaration down here Yeah, no proper output. So this is basically the enumerated numbers are. Guys, if you have any question, you can ask me questions straight here. You can switch on your microphones. Just let me know anytime. That would be like I love to have a more interactive class than rather than having all just passing by. If you are online with me on Facebook or on YouTube, you can post questions anytime. Right on Facebook on our page. That is the page. A level computer science with this background. So we are live. So if you need to ask any question, you can pose a question right here. I'm going to answer it on this page. All right, so enumerated numbers. We are almost done with the enumerated numbers. Let's move on to the user-defined data types. Okay. So we're already done. We already know the user-defined data types are like this. Student name, student ID as in teacher, student name as string, student date of birth as state. So for example, what is the benefit of having that all hard work of defining a user-defined data type when we already have that set of data? Definitely to save amount of time. How? This is we will going to find out. So if we need to input a set of data, for example, here we have a number of students and we need to input the ID of each and every student, and we need to input the name of every student, and we need to input the date of every student. So we need to basically declare a huge set of variables. For example, we have for here, if there is only one student, this is a very small program which is basically taking, this is the message and this is the input. Yeah, they're taking in an input and they're storing it into the variable new student ID, and then they are taking its name and storing into the variable new student name, and then they're taking an input, basically this console read line, their reading line, this whole thing means input, and they're storing the date of birth into the variable new student date of birth. So when you execute this program, this is the kind of input, this is the kind of display that you're going to get. Insert the ID 12, they've inputted, insert the name, niggle, they've inserted the name, and then the date of birth. So this is the new record that has been created, 12, niggle, and things like this. So when you have a number of students, for example, you have 400 students in your institute or in your batch, will you going to declare all the names and date of births and the IDs of 400 students like this? This thing will get really laborious. Right. So how to do that? There comes the user-defined data types in C language, in Visual Basic. We do it like with structure. Basically, in C language, we just need to write down struct, but this thing should not confuse you. So structure student, they are going to create a structure or a user-defined data type name as a student. And now what they're going to do, they are giving a ID as integer, name as string, and DOB as date, and end structure. So now they have created a structure. All right. And now they're going to do what? They are declaring a new student array with a name, with the size 400. And what is the type, what is the data type of this string, this array? Basically, when you give a size like this, it's mean that it's an array. This is not a single variable, this is an array. Okay, I hope you know pretty much. So now you are declaring, you are done with this, you're done with creating a user defined data type, a structure. All right, and now you are declaring an array with the size 400, and you're giving it what data type? You are giving it a data type student. This student is basically a user defined, your defined data type, which you have declared here. So now how you will going to store data inside of this array with a size 400. Look how smart this program will become. Now you have just made a loop for x0 to 400, and you are inputting the data like this, console.readline input into what? New students x dot id. All right, so now this new students is this. X is basically for the very first student, and we are storing information where? Into dot id. Basically this dot id is this thing. Okay, and then we will going to store the name of the student into new students 0 dot name, and then new students date of birth. All right, like date of birth into array. Next, for second student, for third student, for fourth student, and this is how we are going to store all the information of all the students. We do not need to declare the variables like this. We do not need to declare the 400 variables, basically 400 multiplied by 3, all the IDs and names and date of births. We just make our program this much smart. So this is the basically benefit of user defined data types. So let's practice this thing. When we will going to start programming, I will going to write down these codes in Visual Basic and Python. I will going to work with both. I'm going to put the helping videos when we're going to code those programs, all the algorithms on YouTube as well, so you can get from there as well. All right. So declare a record called player to store the following role-playing game attributes: health, name, character, class. For example, this is a cool game, a barbarian, wizard, and elf. I don't know, just remembering there is a game like this one there. Clash of Clans maybe, I don't know. Okay, so what we need to do, we need to declare a record called player, something like this. Structure player, this is what we need to do, structure player. And what will be the inside variables? Role playing, basically attributes will be health, name, character, class. So health is the one variable, name will be the another variable, name will have the data type string, health will going to have data type integer from 1 to 7, something like this, and character class will going to have another data type string maybe, or a fixed constants like barbarian, wizard, and elf. So just let's see the answer. Yeah, they have included both of the concepts because barbarian, wizards, and elf is predefined. So we have created an enumerated type: wizard, barbarian, and elf. And enum, now we're creating structure player, just like we have just discussed. And now name as string, health as integer, gold, how many gold that player have, gold, and gender. Gender will come as character or boolean. So this is how it will going to be done. And then character class is now this within this in structure. Now this structure starts from here and it ends here. So within this structure we have the enumerated class. We are declaring enumerated here, character class as type, just like here. Okay, so this character class can that character can be wizard, barbarian, or elf, or whatever. So basically we're doing two things. We are declaring a structure, and within this structure we are also creating this enumerated set of information as well. All right, So this is really very well done. Create two characters, Gandalf and Conan the Barbarian, using the player record. Now this thing has been created. They are telling us to create the players. So how we will going to create the player? It's pretty easy. So dim Gandalf as player has been created. What they did, Gandalf.name. So this is important now because this Gandalf has been created, and what is the data type that we have given to that variable Gandalf? Player. What is this player? This whole thing. So now we can store the name of that Gandalf by Gandalf.name, Gandalf.health, Gandalf.gold, Gandalf.gender, and Gandalf.type character class as well. So this is how we're going to do that. So rest of the thing is pretty easy. Just look into this thing. If it makes sense, that's good. This is pretty easy as well. So this is how you're going to do that. And all the questions that will come from such thing. And in next class, we're going to do the past paper questions as well. So this is how it goes. So this is all about the enumerated numbers and the user-defined data type. Now what we need to do is to do the pointers, the last remaining topic of our today's class. So what are pointers basically? Does it ring a bell? Does anybody knows that? Okay. So just before starting the pointer, just let me give a little demonstration on that. Okay. When we say pointer in programming, basically, the pointer is a thing which basically store the address of the variable. For example, when you simply declare a variable like this, dim a very simple variable names a as integer, and you initialize that variable a is equal to 5. Now what does happens in computer memory? Address and contents. Sorry, let it do it again. Address and content. So in memory, one thing is address and the other is content. All the data inside the computer memory is stored with the reference of address. So whenever you need to store some data, whenever you need to retrieve data, computer only knows about the addresses. It really does not know what is inside of it. When you say add up two numbers, when you say play a movie, play a song, the computer only went to that particular address and it bring out that thing and it adds it up. It's sent to the music player. It's sent to the video player. So this is how it goes. So for example, a is equal to 5. A will going to have some address like 100. This variable will going to have some address definitely. And this 5 is the content it will going to store here, 5. All right. And when I say static, there are two things. One thing is mentioned as static A. When I say static A, the static A is the same information that that is being used in the C language as well. When I say static A, this static A will going to have which information? It will going to have this value. All right. For example, there is another variable B, and I want to store the address of the variable A. What I will going to do? I will going to do this static A, or there is another method. I will going to write down and A. This and is basically going to tell that store the address of A inside B. Not now this B will not going to have this B. For example, the address of the B is 200. It will not going to have value 5. We are storing A basically here. It will not going to have value 5. What it will going to have? It will going to have 100 inside of it. So this B, whenever you if you print anywhere in the program B, what it will going to print? It will not going to print 5. It will going to print what? 200. All right, so this is what about the pointers. Pointers are very much important when we are going to create the data structures, basically, just like linked list, arrays, and all those things. Data is placed one after another. The binary tree that we will going to cover in A2 definitely as well. So there is a big help. We will going to use pointers there. So this is the basic of the pointers. Let's see what they have told. The CI told us. Here, these all links are not like searched by me or something like this. I've just taken these all links straight from your scheme of work that is provided to all the teachers. So these all things are definitely part of syllabus. Nothing is coming out of it. This whole thing. So I will going to share these links on the page here. You can like go straight there. Let me do that. So you can also solve the exercises. What happened? Copy and then paste. There we go. You can also even download the whole working scheme from this site. Pronto. And this category syllabus. So make yourself comfortable. The name of the site is A-Level Computers, but you need to, this A-Level Computer is inside the Google site, so you have to write down sites.google.com/site. It is because I haven't purchased the domain name yet. So you have all the kind of information here, the syllabus, the past papers and notes, each and everything. So you can get it from here as well. And this is the page you can just like ask the questions, you can get the notes. So I'm just putting all those things here as well live. One person wants to join the group. Okay, so pointers. Pointers are basically used in object-oriented programming that we will going to study more later on. Just give me a sec so I can take this whole thing in my note as well. So we can make it more interactive. Try to make it more interactive. A-level computing. Computer science, basically computing was the old name for the 9691, the old course. All right, the pointers. There we go. Okay, now what they're doing here at this particular place, A and PTR, they are going to declare the variables. They're just mentioning that we are going to deal with two variables, A and PTR. They have just mentioned that. And they're also going to meet two key characters, the and the static. Okay, and A means that this will going to return the address location of the variable A. So this thing is important. When we will going to write down and A, what it will going to do, this thing will going to return the address location of A. All right. So when we are going to use static, for example, static pointer, it's mean that follow the memory address stored in the pointer. Now this thing will going to make sense when we are going to solve later on. For example, now this is what they are doing. They are declaring a variable integer type a, and they have initialized it with 5. So this 5 will going to store, this will be the content of a, and then later on they are doing what, they are also initializing a pointer, and they're putting a value what, null. Okay, so what is happening inside the memory? So this is the picture of the memory, this thing. All right, this is the picture of the memory. So basically the address and contents both are written in hexadecimal. You should not get like worried about this thing. Whenever we talk about the memory, uh, we mention the address of the memory in hexadecimal because of the large size. All right, so this is the address of a. This is the address of this variable a. Okay, and what happens when we initialize a variable, this 5 will going to store, this is the content, 5 is going to store inside the variable a. All right, and what happens when we initialize a pointer? So this is the address of a pointer, and as we have initialized it with null, so we have a null value inside of it. All right, so let's move on. Okay, now in pointer what we are doing, we are moving the address. What we are doing, we are basically moving the address of a. So what will going to happen, this is the pointer and this is the address of the pointer. Now what this thing will going to do, this will going to do, it will going to move the address here. All right, I hope so it's pretty much clear. So this is what it will going to do. Let us check. Yes, this is what happened. Okay, look, this was the address. Now it is being moved into the contents of the pointer, into the contents of the pointer. So now what we can call it, now later on what they are doing inside that pointer, they are going to store the value 8. So now 8 is being stored where? 8 is being stored at the address of a. Now this is basically a is being updated. So if we are going to execute this command, it will going to do what? What is inside this pointer? Inside this pointer we have the address. This is the address. So when you're going to do this, when we're going to execute this command, this 8 will going to store where? At the contents. This contents, this static means, this static tells us that whatever we will going to do, that it will going to store, this contents are basically not the contents, this is the address of some other variable. So this 8 will going to store at this address, and this is the address of variable a basically. So static pointer is basically doing what? It's updating a. So a will not 5 now, it will become 8. All right, so this is the concept of pointer. When you call pointer, basically we call the address. This is the difference. You should remember that. Okay, give a use of pointers into data structures. You can do that. It's pretty easy. They may, yeah, storing next free memory addresses used to create abstract data types like linked lists, like arrays, like binary tree, etc., etc. What would the following output, where cout basically means out print, you can call it print. Cout is basically a C++ code. Okay, now what's happening here? They have declared a variable and they stored, let's do it like this. inside Q they have 89. Inside this next pointer they have stored 0. Now inside this next they are storing the address of Q. Okay, so in this next, now basically next is updated, and what is inside of it? Address of Q. Okay, now when we do output static next, what it will going to output? It will going to output some value like 0, x, 1, 3, 5, something like this, a hexadecimal number value, which will be the address of this Q. So this will not going to output the contents. Okay, so later on, now Q is equal to 23. Now Q is being updated. Now Q is become 23, and static next become 56. So, and what is static next? This is tricky. What this command will going to do? Because this static next points to which? It points to the address. It points to the address of Q. Address of Q. So when we will going to execute this command, this 56 will going to update here. So it will not going to output 23, but it will going to output 56. So 56 should be outputted. So this is how this will going to do. Let's check. All right. So 89 was the answer, and then 56 was the answer. So this is how it will going to do. So this is all about the pointers. Do let me know that if you cannot understand the pointers concept or the enumerated and the user-defined data types. We will going to do the past papers in the very next class from the very same topics, and we will also going to do a new topic that will be floating point numbers and number systems. How we can like define. We have done with the negative numbers, ones complement and twos complement. I also have the video. So what we will going to do? We will going to do the fractional part of number system. So how you can represent a decimal number, for example, 10.3 into a binary. So how you will going to define a fractional data inside a floating number inside binary. So we're going to do that topic. That's pretty important, and hopefully we will be done with this whole course within 3 months. So thank you very much. Stay connected. Do update me. Do let me know that if this whole thing will is helpful. And do ask me questions. See you next time. I'm going to update you on WhatsApp. I'm going to update you on Facebook if there will be any change of plan. So thank you very much. Bye-bye.